when you have one set of things going in, it's like a circle going in one direction and then a circle going in the other direction, and they're completely opposite things, doing, being, willpower, surrender, masculine, feminine, whatever you want to, whatever contrast you want to take. When it seems chaotic, it seems like they're conflicting, it seems like you have to keep choosing, you're swinging violently from one side to the other. But then if you bring those circles together, if you've got this, and then you've got this, and as soon as they touch, and as soon as you accept and make space for both, it forms an infinity loop. And so that was like a huge paradigm shift for me. And the beauty of, I call this infinity loop flow, because you get into the flow. And this is exactly what I had experienced as an athlete, that there's this state of being where you can be completely alert and focused on the outside, and yet completely calm and relaxed and almost like Zen on the inside, and literally like punching and kicking furiously with your body, and your mind is like a monk. And that is actually the optimal performance state. This is well known. I did not invent this. There are many books written about flow. This is one of the qualities. And so I wanted to learn how to cultivate being in the flow on purpose, and then holding it for longer periods of time, and then eventually living in the flow. And so that's what I've spent the last 25 years doing. I don't even know if I answered your question or not, but whatever.
You got us in the flow for sure.
Oh, good.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Jackie, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
I'm dying to ask it. And I'm lucky that I get to sit here and ask it. For all the entrepreneurs that are joining and are going to get to watch this whenever it is, how do you achieve that? It seems, I hear what you're saying, and I want to believe it, but when I'm going a million miles a minute trying to do 10 billion things, maybe that's what I should be doing. How do you keep it cool? Exactly.
So this is exactly the dilemma I was up against, because it didn't start like that, right? When I started, I couldn't even sit still for like 30 seconds. High adrenaline, adrenaline junkie, high energy person, wanting to achieve, do. But I knew that first of all, it starts with an intention. Whatever your intention is, like I wanted to be world champion in karate. And that was what drove me to discover and explore a whole other side of myself. Then when I retired from sport, I wanted to be a better mother. And that was what drove me to explore it even more. And so you have to find a reason for wanting to do this. This is life-changing stuff. And it's not going to happen just like that.
One intention.
How many do you want? You only need one.
We got longer than an hour? Yeah.
You can have lots of small intentions, but what is your reason for rising to your highest creative potential in life, right? Why do you want to do it? And it started out for me as an external reason. Wanting to win an award is an external reason. And I call those the external gratification. There's purse, power, prestige, and praise. Basically,
Same again.
Yeah, those are the reasons why we do anything. Purse, so money. We want to earn money. Power, we want to increase our power, position, whatever it is in your workplace or even in the home. Prestige, it's like awards and stuff like that. And then praise. We want people to like us. We want to belong. We want to please, especially for girls and women. This is a huge one, right? We want to be liked. And so that drives us to do things, but those are all external reasons and they work for a while, right? And they're not wrong at all, but they're not the whole picture. And in my work now, in my coaching practice, I have discovered that this applies across the board. There are people, I work with people in the sports field. I work with who are at the top of their game in sports. I work with people who are Pulitzer Prize winning writers. Like, it doesn't matter what you have achieved in. At some point, you reach the end of all the external stuff. At some point, you get everything you have been trying to get outside of you. And for some people, this happens earlier on, and some people, this happens later in life. It doesn't really matter, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And then when you get that, you would think, okay, I'm now super happy, right? Actually, no. You're happy for maybe a few days or a week, but then people get really depressed. They get depressed because they're like, this isn't actually giving me inside what I was after the whole time, which is basically joy, a joy of life. And in fact, the opposite happens. They become very cynical in a way about life, or they can, unless they now take a turn and start exploring a whole other side, which is the inside. And it's not that one is better or worse than the other, but the balance. If you just are operating in one circle, all the external stuff, or you're very like Zen and you're just like go to meditation and yoga all the time and you're just doing that, and you kind of go into a cave of your own world, and some people do that, you're not benefiting from the full experience of being human, right? Which is that you have your spirit, the being, in a body which can do. So you need to balance out being and doing. And that's when you get into this magic of like, wow, life can be so fun. And so it starts with a reason for wanting to do it. And then, I found it very difficult to just sit still, and even meditating was like out of the question for me. And so I started by lighting a candle and watching the flame. And honestly, I could do it for about 10 seconds in the beginning. And now, I can sit or do nothing. I can go outside and stare at the sky for like hours, but, and more importantly, I can be now while I do. And that was actually my goal. I didn't want to just be able to sit and meditate for hours. I wanted to be in a meditative state while I was doing stuff. And I wanted to be able to do that while I was doing stuff very quickly and vigorously. And it's taken time to be able to do that on purpose. I did that by accident right away when I was like 25, and we've all experienced states of flow. But then to cultivate that on purpose, it requires, there's a method. I'm actually writing a book about it right now, which is going to come out next year. I have discovered that there are 4 steps. The first step is self-awareness. You have to cultivate awareness of your thoughts, of your feelings, and of your body. If you don't even know what you're thinking, you don't know what you're feeling, and you don't know what you're doing, the first step is to cultivate awareness. And that starts with even just taking a single deep breath. And it's like, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I even doing right now? Right? Because so much of our life is on autopilot. So a deep breath, it's like, okay, come back to present. So that's step 1. You cultivate self-awareness. And there's lots of ways of doing that. There's a bazillion ways, right? Then the second step is self-control. So now you have some self-awareness. You're like, okay, I'm mad or I'm sad and I don't want to be. What can I do about it? Or I'm in that crazy, scattered, like a million things piled on, nothing is getting done with any depth mode of an entrepreneur because you've got a billion things on your plate. It's like, how do I want to be? And I start my day with these 2 questions. How do I feel right now? And how do I want to feel? And so even coming onto this call, it's like, okay, how do I want to be while I do this call? Like, I never used to ask myself that. It was just, what do I want to do today? What am I going to do today? What are the things on my list that I'm going to do? But now I ask both questions. What do I want to do? Yes. And how do I want to be while I'm doing? And my answer for this call was, I want to feel calm. I want to feel grounded, and I want to feel centered. And I want to project that energy. I want to be a calm, still presence on the call as I talk about this thing that I love to do. So it's like setting an anchor down on a boat. So you're no longer drifting. And everything we do is to get a feeling. So when you set an intention about how you want to feel, you're setting an intention at the very core level of your being, right? There isn't a deeper intention than that. So
So,
I'll take a breath.
okay.
I think we were so in the flow of getting this whole wonderful show going that we had a few technical issues, no big deal. So Jack, if you want to kind of reset at the top here, we're going to introduce Lisa again to make sure that everybody knows who they're
I don't think it
listening
was
to.
recording at that time.
This is Lisa MK Ling. She is a joy scientist, in her own words, and also a human potential coach, as well as an author and a black belt in karate. So those of you out there in the Facebook group, I would like some feedback from you. Lisa's been talking about the flow. She talked about those motivators, about purse, power, prestige, and praise. Some of you are educators who actually have ideas, ed tech inventions that you want to aspire to bring to fruition. So I'm going to ask you to think for a minute. Were your motivations the same ones that Lisa described? And if so, put it in the chat. And then I want to pull it back to Lisa and ask you, how do the people in our audience, the people who are educators who want to go on further and add to the educational field because they have gone through all of your motivators, how do they find their state of joy specifically?
Great question. Well, first of all, I just want to say that those motivators, like they're not bad, they're not wrong, they're wonderful, right? It's just not the whole picture. So if you're in that and you're loving it, then you're exactly where you're supposed to be, right? If all of those 4 things motivate you and you don't feel any issue, then go for it, right? Because not everybody is ready to take a deep dive into their inner world. It's at different stages of life and everybody has to be ready for it. But if you are feeling like, okay, there's got to be more, more to life, or, more to whatever this existence on the planet, then there are also 4 internal motivators or gratifications. And that's basically peace, purpose, passion, and play. And I start with peace because, until you are able to calm yourself down and be a calm, still presence, because a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a particular type of person who becomes an entrepreneur, right? It's somebody who likes a lot of movement. It's somebody who's a go-getter. It's somebody who's a high energy person who wants to make the world better, who wants to fix things and sees a problem, wants to do. It's like the OCD, ADD types, right? Like I am definitely in that category. And your mind, your mind is like a Ferrari, right? As soon as you wake up, it's like the Ferrari just gets going. And so learning how to pause the Ferrari and control the gas pedal, by having practices like my morning routine helps me to get grounded and centered. And without that morning routine, I get a lot done, but it doesn't feel the same. It kind of goes sideways. It can go sideways a lot easier. And so, some of the things in a morning routine, there's a wonderful book about this called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Some of the basic things in my morning routine, I actually made an acronym for them. It's BEWC. Hal Elrod has like 6 things, but I couldn't remember 6. So I condensed it down to 4. And there's 1 thing each for my body, for my mind, and my spirit. And then there's 1 tool to rule them all. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, so I like bringing everything together, and I like to keep it really simple. So the tool for the body is that I always exercise in the morning. And, it doesn't have to be like a big workout, but I get my body moving. I either go outside for a walk. I have like a flow warm up that I do. It takes 10 minutes. It gets every single major muscle group moving and every joint moving through its range of motion, right? It takes 10 minutes and just gets my body awake and alive, because it's been kind of curled up in a little ball for 6 to 8 hours. And so that's the first thing. Then the words, this is for the mind. Like I have phrases and words that I say to myself, affirmations. It's called self-talk in sport, or cue words, So one of them, for example, if I think that things aren't going well, one of them is just like, all is well. Like, just like simple statements that you can insert into your brain that kind of counter all of that fear stuff, the inner critic. Another one that I really love is everything happens at the perfect time, right? And this is really good if you're driving somewhere and you feel like you're late and you're rushing, and that you're gonna, like, your chances of getting in an accident just went way up if you're in that state. So save your life by saying this statement to yourself as you're driving. Everything happens at the perfect time, and I arrive at the perfect time. Because, and this is a great example of doing and being, because if you're rushing, and then you arrive like whatever, 10 seconds before you would have normally, fine, you did it. But how are you being while you're arriving? You're going to be out of breath. You're going to be totally stressed, and you're not going to be ready to engage with anybody at the place where you've arrived. So it's better to take the extra time, and just drive normally and say this thing to yourself, I arrive at the perfect time. And then when you arrive, you're going to be calm, you're going to be centered, you're going to be happy, and you're going to be ready to engage right away.
So what about this? It's me, right? And what about the people on the other side of that? If you're driving and you're saying this to yourself, and I see that, I can do that. I can hear, on delivering of a website, right? Let's say you're the entrepreneur, you're the CEO, you got a new website to deliver. You're trying to take it easy, just take it off of the roads at this point. And you're expected to deliver something. And you're telling yourself it's going to happen at the right time. But there is a other group here.
Right. Yes. Okay. Exactly. This is the balance of the two. Okay. And I totally get this. Okay. This is exactly the reality of flow, right? You're in the ring. Someone's punching at you. You can't be just like, okay, maybe I'll block, maybe I won't. But you can still move vigorously and furiously on the outside while remaining calm on the inside, but it takes practice. So in the beginning, you have to cultivate time to just do the being. You're not going to get to this state where you can blend them perfectly together instantly and, move super quickly and be totally calm right away. It's just not going to happen. You spent your whole life doing. You got to give being a chance. So yes, you do need to carve out 10 minutes in the morning to just sit with your hot water and lemon and just breathe and don't do anything, and think about, okay, what is my biggest goal of the day? One goal, because of course there's 100, but what is the one thing that I want to accomplish today? And how do I want to feel as I do it? And if you take the time to use the power of your mind, to use the power of your heart, to use the power of your spirit to set that intention, oh my gosh, you're now just not working with your own little puny individual self. You're literally harnessing the power that creates worlds, that's flowing all around. You're channeling it through you and into the things that you're creating. And that is exactly how I run my business now. And it's been a process of getting there, and it's been a process of trust. of myself, of the process of life, of the universe, of like all of the things that I've cultivated over time. But now whenever I get stressed, I immediately stop and I go back and I check myself, because nothing good is going to happen from that place. It's not going to work out in the long run. The vibration doesn't match.
So, Lisa, this is great stuff. How do I bring it into the classroom? How do you bring it into the classroom?
Okay, so very simple. We get back to body, mind, spirit, exactly what I said when we started. So I've worked with a lot of young kids in schools. So for example, say I'm teaching a karate class. I bring flow into the karate class. So the first thing we do is they line up and they all sit in seiza. Seiza is like your legs tucked underneath, your back straight, hands on your lap. It's like all martial arts classes start this way, but you could do this with anything. People could be sitting at a desk. They could be in whatever position, and we close our eyes and we take 4 deep breaths. And we can even do that now. We could close our eyes and take 1 deep breath. I suggest we do that actually, because then it'll become an experience and not just a mind thing. So if you just close your eyes and take a single deep breath in, breathe in for 4 seconds and breathe out for 4 seconds. Okay, then repeat 4 times. Again. That's 2. Again, breathe in. That's 3, and just let your whole body settle. Let your shoulders unclench, your jaw unclench. Last breath in and out. Let your whole body relax for a second. Okay. So what do you notice? What just happened? Do you notice anything different? And I do this with the kids.
Well, your heart rate slows down.
Your heart rate slows down. What else do you notice?
You're more centered.
You feel
You're
more centered.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah. How about
A
you,
lot
Josh?
more.
Did something happen just now?
Yes. I mean,
How would you describe it?
well, after the first breath in, I stopped thinking about the potentially there's people out in the world that are watching us do this. And then I got to a place where it felt calm. And then I wanted to stay.
Yeah. So when I do this with kids, most kids have never done this ever in their whole life. It's so simple. It takes no gear, no special anything. And when they open their eyes, they are just like, some of the
We
kids
really
are
want
just
that
like,
from them. No, I don't want you doing this to my 6.5-year-old. If you
they're
give her
like,
this,
oh my, like they just entered another world. I am not kidding you. And then some people just go off and whatever, it's like no big deal. But then for the ones who the light bulb goes off, they're like, I want to explore that world more. And so what happens, and why the reason why we talk about it in class with the kids is because there's the experience of it in your body. There's the feeling of it when you do it. Then there's the language of it and the framework and the understanding in your mind. And you need both parts. And you need your spirit. What happened is you just got present. That's what happened. You dropped into your spirit. That's what happened. And that's what that feels like. And so now they have a language for it and they have a practice for it. Not saying that everyone does it, right? That's why you need the motivation and the decision and the choice to do it. But now it's like, okay, I have tools, I have language, I have permission. And now you can go and explore it more and more if you want.
So how did you find clients for the flow? I
don't find clients. Clients find me. I don't operate like that. I used to. And then the whole thing about energy and flow is that, my job is to put my energy out there at a high vibration. My job is to keep my vibe high. My job is to be the joy scientist, to be joyful. And then that attracts people who want that vibration. And so it happened in little organic ways. And I found that, and this is one of the ways that I organically cultivated my business. All the things that I, furiously planned out and wrote down, none of those things happened. But as long as I show up with my full open heart, stay present, stay in tune, stay passionate, talk to people, engage with people, doors open. It started with the whole enrichment in school thing started with a flyer that I saw because at my own kids' school, where they said, they had this taekwondo class, but then they said, we're looking for an instructor. So I thought, oh, I could do that. And I wanted to do something like in the school. And so I called the enrichment coordinator. I was like, oh, I could do that class. And then she said, well, actually, we found somebody to do that. But you know what? I would really, we were talking and stuff, and she realized that I taught yoga and mindfulness as well. And I kind of combined them together. And she's like, I'd really love for someone to do a yoga and mindfulness class. And so I said, okay, perfect. And that became, over the next several years, that became the most popular class. Not the one that I came up with, but the one that, life brought to me. And I was in tune and open and willing to do it. Right. And so I've just found that over and over, and all my individual coaching clients now, like that's the exact same way it's happened. If you show up with your full heart, you stay fully engaged with the process, and you don't worry about outcomes. Outcomes are what stress everyone out. Don't worry about the outcomes. Stay with the process, give 100% in the process. The outcome will happen. And it might not be the way you think it's going to look.
So we were just blindsided with the pandemic. How did you take those classes that worked so beautifully in person? And I'm talking about your mindfulness. I'm talking about your karate classes, your taekwondo. How did you pivot to an online virtual environment?
Yeah, great question. First of all, I didn't see the whole pivot to online in the pandemic as necessarily something bad. And this is, I'm not, saying that it hasn't been difficult for a lot of people, but there is a silver lining in everything. And that's my perspective on life. And that affects how I see everything. And so I'm always looking for, okay, this doesn't feel good right now. I'm on my back foot. Okay, what's the silver lining? I'm automatically pivoting quickly. And literally in martial arts, if someone backs you into the corner of the ring, you got to be looking for, okay, how am I going to make advantage of this, right? And one of my specialties was that I was kind of like a spider when I fought. People would be coming, and I would go back, and I would go back, and I would go back, and I'd be almost like in the corner, and they think, okay, now I've got you, right? It looks like I've trapped you. And then I was watching, and I knew there was going to be an opening. I knew they were going to attack. And right at the moment that they attacked, I beat them to it. And I always scored those points because they were only in one frame of mind, but I was in both. I was defensive, but then I was also looking for the offensive moment. And it's no different than, entrepreneurship. So you're defensive. COVID, it's changed everything. Okay, I've lost a whole bunch of stuff, but then every ending is also a new beginning. And if you are open to seeing it like that, and you're willing to look for the joy and stay joyful and do the practices that keep your vibe up so that you can even see it, because if you're down in the dumps and down in the pit, you're not going to see those opportunities. So you have to do the work to keep yourself out of the pit, in the meadow. And then when you're in the meadow, you can see the flowers, you can see the sun, you can see, if you drop all the way down to the pit, it's harder to see that. And at that point, you need to reach for help. You need a lifeline from someone, because nobody can do it alone. So
Lisa,
I didn't really try to pivot my business. I just stayed open, and then other opportunities came. And as soon as I saw them, I ran with them, and then they grew and they became other things. And one of the opportunities was, time to do a lot of writing. And in the next 4 months, I have, in the next 12 months, I have 4 books coming out. So I've used the downtime of COVID to really kind of consolidate a lot of the things I've learned, to write it up, to write stories. And now I'm going to put those stories out there.
Lisa, I think you're going to tell us that anybody can do this with the right amount of practice. Is that right? Because as I hear you say all this, and I think we're all out here listening, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. 10 minutes in the morning. The 10 minutes of not doing anything, that I'm still trying to process, literally seeing myself sit there and drink the water that you said with the lemon. But I would imagine that with enough practice and the intention, anybody can do this. True?
Absolutely. If you have a body, if you have a mind, and you have a spirit, then you can do it. Those are the necessary components. In other words, if you're a human and you're alive on the planet, you can do it. I didn't say that with only 10 minutes, you're going to get to, living in the flow for life. But what's going to happen is those 10 minutes are going to be the beginning of a journey. And as soon as you're on the journey, you're in the flow. Now you're in the current, the river of your life, and it's taking you downstream. And you're going to see other things that you want to add. And it's gradually, you're going to go and you're going to start going, instead of being stagnant or in a downward spiral, you're now starting to get into an upward spiral. And if you do something every day for your body, you do something every day for your mind, maybe you read something inspiring, maybe you write down in your journal, maybe you post little sticky notes of words that lift you up. I can do this. My daughter plays softball. She used to be a pitcher, terrified. It's 2 outs, her team's down, and she's pitching. And she used to say to herself, I'm okay. I can do this. That was her mantra. Those were the words that stuck for her. And now she's on a new team, and she came up with another mantra because she was terrified. They're all older girls playing softball. They're really good. Her mantra was, I belong here. And that allowed her, when that voice in your head starts going, it's like, no, you can't do this. You suck. Everything's going to fail. You need something to catch yourself. You need a safety net. So you need something for the mind, and then you need something for the spirit, something that lifts you up. Music, go outside for a walk, look at the sky, actually spend time, present time, even 5 minutes with your kid. If you spend 5 minutes with a child, your child, every day, they will reignite your spirit. That's what my kids did for me, because I had kind of closed my heart at 12. I'd kind of had suicidal thoughts. I went into my head. I closed down my heart. And when I had kids of my own, they reignited that joy of life. They're excited about a grasshopper, stupid little things, right? If you start seeing life through their eyes, it will wake up your spirit. So, and that will, get you onto a journey, and it will become more and more and more. And you don't need to know all the things right now. All you need to know is the 10 minutes, even 5 minutes, even 1 minute. You start somewhere, even one deep breath. That breathing, that breathing exercise we just did, which felt totally transformed your being in that moment. You know how long that took? It's 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, 1 breath. That's 8 seconds times 4 breaths. That's 32 seconds. It took 32 seconds to completely change your state of being. So don't tell me you don't have time. That's BS. That's just an excuse.
So you're getting kind of hard there.
Oh yeah, there's another
Our
side.
mutual
to
friend Chris Whelan, who might be out there, said you were going to bring it, so it has been brought.
There's another side to me. My son, who's 19, he calls me fierce and loving, and that's actually the two. Those are the kind of the two sides, right? Love isn't just this soft thing, you know. Love is strong. Love is the most powerful force, the most powerful energy in the world. When you do something out of love, I mean, look at a mother bear, right? The things a mother will do for her child, that's out of love. The things that an entrepreneur will do for their business, out of love. The things that anyone will do out of love, right? Those are the most fierce things in the world.
So give me some coaching here. I'm an educator. I don't get paid for the work that I do. I've got this idea to make the whole educational sphere a better place, better learning. I'm approaching that joy, but I've been rejected by so many potential funders. I'm burning candles at both ends. I'm working and working, and I'm almost at the point where I want to give up and throw in the towel. So as my human potential coach, what advice would you give me?
I would say start small. Everybody wants to like get $1 million, whatever, and launch their thing big right away. And actually, and I did too, you know, and that didn't necessarily happen, right? And, you know, that may not actually be the best thing for you, right? What I mean is that, okay, I have to back up a little bit and explain something. So everyone knows emotions, right? You have positive emotions and you have negative emotions. Well, emotions indicate the vibration you have in your body. They're a way of measuring and indicating where your vibration is. When you're right at the top at love, joy, gratitude, you know, your vibration is high. When you're down in worry, doubt, fear, anger, depression, your vibration is low. And if you're in the middle, neutral. Right above neutral is hope. Right below neutral is doubt. You can literally, there's something called the emotional scale, right? You can measure the vibration in your body according to this. You know what's happening with your vibration. So the human vibration does not change fundamentally in leaps and bounds. It changes gradually. So if you're used to a certain pattern, it's kind of like a set point. Like people have set points of weight. They have set points of thinking. They also have set points of feeling, right? And so you want it, you want everything to change and be wonderful, like right now, but that's not how it works. And if that did happen, you know what would happen? You wouldn't be able to hold it. You wouldn't have the structures in place, either in your outside life or within yourself, to be able to hold that vibration. And that's when you see people who like win the lottery, and then like 90% of people who win the lottery, they lose all the money within a few years, right? Because they don't have the qualities necessarily to hold that vibration. So you have to build that slowly. So I would say to you, if this was you, what is showing up in your life that you love, that is moving this forward, even 1%? Do that thing, you know. Don't think you have to have it all sorted out tomorrow. What if you were to, instead of aiming for 100%, you know, 6 months from now, aim for 1% tomorrow. That's it. And I'm a huge fan of micro changes, micro changes. Like if you want to get fit, right? So then you get running shoes and you start running, and then you hurt your back and you can't run because your body's not ready to run, right? It's ready to walk. So start by just putting your shoes on and like walking around your house in your shoes, and then go for a walk around the block once, you know, and build slowly. And then your whole body, mind, and spirit system will evolve and make these changes and go in that upward spiral. And then there's another piece to it, which is trust. Cultivate trust. And one of the ways that I have cultivated trust, you know, as a lawyer, I'm always looking for evidence. Where is the evidence? And I spend a lot of time looking at the evidence of my life, of my business. And, we don't do this normally. So for example, every day I write down what are my tasks I'm going to do today. But then at the very top, I write down also what is my intention for the day. And things that I found inspiring, maybe something I read, maybe something someone said. And at the end of the month, I save one page and I review the entire month, and I go back and I look at every single thing that happened that month. There's one page for every single day in the journal, right? And then I ask myself 3 questions at the end of the month. The first question is, did I achieve my goals for this month? And I always say yes. But it propels me to go back and look. And there's no way I would have remembered what had happened over that month. And you will be shocked when you look at your life like this. When you pause and take time to reflect, you'll be like, oh my gosh. And I also do this daily. At the end of the day, I write down my miracle of the day. And I talk about it with my children, with my husband. Miracle of the day. What's your miracle of the day? And it makes you look for the miracle of the day. Even when you think there's no miracle that happened, there's a miracle that happened. So, small steps, 1% better every day, and take time to not just plan and do, but also review. That's the cycle. Plan, then do, then review.
So,
Or as I like to
Lisa,
say, intend, then act, and then celebrate. So.
I hear what you're saying again, and I wanted to ask a question. So if
Okay,
we're
good.
Ferraris, if we're entrepreneurs, and you
Yeah.
called us Ferraris, okay, and our minds just wake up going a million miles a minute in a red Ferrari, and you've given us the steps, I think, to have successful days. What happens if one morning we turn the key in the Ferrari and it doesn't turn the same way, or it doesn't
start.
turn on? Yeah. Like, how do we handle that? I mean, just go back to bed, you pour the water
No.
out, you say, I can't do this. Well, how do you handle that little portion of it didn't work? Something's not working.
For me, I would immediately pause. And believe me, this is not what I would have done before. Before, I would have had a fit. I would have had an absolute fit, 10 years ago, 10, 20 years ago. Now, I would pause and I'd be like, and I would breathe, because I would feel my blood pressure going up, right? And I would breathe and I would do my best to stay neutral. And then when I am neutral, I can see. When I'm not neutral and I'm angry or I'm upset, you can't see anything, right? So if I need to go for a walk or whatever, like move my body, I would do that. And then I would ask myself a question. I would ask, what's really going on here? Because again, if you have the view that everything in life is happening for you and it's directing you on a path, and you can trust that path, which is the perspective that I've built up over time, then this is happening for a reason. And I truly believe everything happens for a reason. So what is the reason? Are you not meant to do this business? Maybe this isn't really the business for you. Or maybe this isn't the business partner for you. Maybe you were going to go drive off to your business partner. Maybe that's not the right partnership. I would seriously pause, because if the universe and life is saying, okay, this car's not starting, then you need to look at what's going on here. It's not just that bad things happen to good people, right? My sister got cancer, a couple of years later, she's like, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. There, so many people say that hard things that they go through later on, if they come through it and it transforms them, so many people will say that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm working with a boy who was 15, who got a bad concussion way back in March, fell on his head on off a ski jump. And in the beginning, he had to sit quietly with no sound, no nothing, in a dark room. For him, this high energy 15-year-old boy, it was absolute torture, absolute torture. And we've been working together for 5 months. And a few weeks ago, and he went right down into the pit and stayed there for a while. And I kept holding a light that something else is possible and teaching him the tools and all that, but he wasn't really ready to go there. And finally I said to him, just believe everything I'm saying for 3 days and see what happens. And he was finally ready. He was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. He was finally ready to let all that go. And he had this huge breakthrough. And now he actually said to me this thing that I told him right at the beginning. And he said, Lisa, that concussion is the best thing that ever happened to me. He's 15. Okay. So he gets this perspective. I'm not saying that it's, it's not that it's hard to shift your perspective, but not everybody's ready to see things that way. So much of it depends on how you see it, Josh. If you see it as, oh God, geez, another day where life is, pouring poop on me. I'm not going to swear, but normally I would.
I think we can on these airwaves, right?
Yeah, we can. That's legal.
Okay.
Okay.
Jackie says cool.
Are there children watching? Anyways, if that's your perspective on life, then yeah, it's going to be a rough ride. But if you cultivate and look for the evidence for and develop the tools and the practice to cultivate a different perspective, which is that there's room for me. I am special and unique, and I have a great idea, and I want to put this out in the world. I have peace. I feel peaceful around this. I feel passionate. I feel a purpose. I want to play with this. If you cultivate that and trust that life is going to bring you and guide you on that path, and you stay paying attention. I'm not saying it's all going to be perfect from the start, but you're going to take these things, you're going to be able to block, and then you're going to come back and you're going to counter, be like, okay, not that business partner, not that business, something else. And it might take a while, but eventually, and this is the key, you have to trust yourself. You have to learn to trust the part of you that knows. There's a part of you that knows what to do, that knows what you want, like deep, deep down, it's your soul. And you have to start learning to listen to that part.
Is the soul synonymous with, I used to have a buddy of mine who's an entrepreneur as well. And we used to say, trust your gut, nitwit.
Exactly.
Is
your soul, your gut.
synonymous
exactly.
with your soul?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's more neuroreceptors in your gut than in your brain. The brain, it can really F you up. But your gut will, in your body will always give you the truth. And here's a little takeaway for entrepreneurs, for anybody. This is what I do when I'm not sure about the decision. I try it on, and instead of going to my head for the answer, I go to my body and my heart and my gut. So for example, there's two scenarios. So I imagine one scenario, like close my eyes, really get into it. Like imagine it happening, see it, feel it, hear it, and then see, okay, how do I feel? Does your body like tighten up? Do you feel this like sinking feeling in your gut? Does your heart like go, ooh? Okay, then you have your answer. Your body is giving you an answer. It's saying, no, that's not for you. Don't do that. Don't go down that path. That's what your body is telling you. Your mind might be like, well, logically it makes sense, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then you try on the other idea and you're like, you visualize it, and it's important that you really go into it and visualize it and feel it. And you notice, oh, your body feels open, your heart, like you're taking deeper breaths, you feel inspired, you feel lighter. That's the right path for you. And your mind will most likely have the reverse. It'll be like logically this way, not that way. And we have spent our entire lives being trained to let the mind override the gut. And that is the biggest tragedy of all. Now that's my number one thing. I never let logic override my heart's knowing, never. And it's taken a lot of practice. And then I look at how it works out. Like if I do something where I'm like, okay, I know I used logical override on that. I look, okay, how did that turn out? And I write these things down, right?
So Lisa, we're running out of time. There's one question I must ask you.
Okay.
You have proven yourself to be an amazing influencer as per that 15-year-old boy. So if I am approaching a funder, a supporter, somebody that I've done all the work with flow on myself, can I transfer that work somehow onto that other person?
Well, yes. If you show up with a full heart, with passion, with love of what you're doing, that vibe is going to spread. I mean, look at your own family, right? If you come home one day and you're in a shit mood, how does that go? And if you come home and you're in a great mood, how does that go? This is again, this is energy, right? Humans aren't just the physical being. You have an energy field. It extends at least arm's length around you. So your energy field is literally touching the other person's energy field, you know, just by being in proximity. And so that's why people can feel the energy of someone. And if you feel like if you're going to a funder and you're feeling disbelief, you're feeling doubt, you're feeling worried, guess what? They're going to feel it. And if you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect someone else to believe in you? So the first thing I would do is I would get into an amazing state. I would go for a workout. I would go like for a run. I would get yourself into a high vibration where you feel amazing. Like do whatever it takes and then go for that meeting and see how it goes.
That is sage advice. So,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
so much of our communication is not the words. You know, everybody focuses on the words. Well, if I say the right thing, 90% of communication is not words. It's energy, it's body language, it's passion. You know, be passionate. Remind yourself before you go for that meeting, why did I want to do this in the first place? Like inundate yourself with that. Go back and read your journals. Go look at your stuff. Go do whatever you need to do to get your vibration high. And as soon as your only work is to raise your vibration. The law of attraction, you know, says the universal law, you attract at the same level that you send out. So if your vibe is low, you're going to attract low vibe. If your vibe is high, you're going to attract high vibe. You don't need to be doing all the work of figuring out who's got a high vibe and a low vibe around you. All you have to do is raise your vibe. And then you're going to start finding yourself being drawn to and other people being drawn to you because those vibes match. It's kind of like a radio signal. You can't get the jazz channel while you're listening to rock, punk rock. They don't match. You got to tune your radio. You got to tune your body, mind, spirit, and up to a higher signal. And then it's going to match. And then it's just all going to flow in. And it might be bit by bit. And the more you have doubt, you know, you're excited, you're flowing forward, and then you have doubt and you're going back. So the more you can stay consistent and have practices that help you stay consistent with the forward energy and the forward momentum and let go of your fears, your doubts, and your disbelief, just like Morpheus said to Neo in the Matrix before he jumped across the skyscraper, you got to let it all go, Neo. Your fears, your doubts, your disbelief. Free your mind. That's what he said, you know, and that really is the key. Like so much of it is in our own mind. We all want to blame it on everything out there. It's not the case. It's from the inside out. And that's this whole like thing that I discovered, you know, the external and the internal. If you start with the internal and you get that right, all the external stuff comes. You don't have to worry about it.
Wow. I could talk to you for days, but unfortunately it's time to wrap this up. So I really want to thank you so much, Lisa. You are inspirational.
That was my intention, to show up fully and shine my light, you know? So thank you. I'm glad that actually, lo and behold, the intention actually happened. Right? This is the whole thing we started talking about. Like you got to check in, like when you set your intention in the beginning of the day, you got to check in at the end of the day and be like, okay, how did that go? Because if you don't do that part, you're missing out. And then you don't actually believe that intentions mean anything. Wow. You're not collecting the evidence.
I don't know if it would be appropriate because of COVID or anything like that, even if we were in the same room, but I would give you a hug and say thank you, you know, but probably not allowed to, I don't know. But I do appreciate it. You
can do virtual hugs if you go like this and just close your eyes and take a deep breath.
I got lots of deep breaths coming, trust me.
Yes, as entrepreneurs, you need a lot of deep breaths for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much, Josh, for your comments today. And I think Lisa might have changed your life during this Facebook Live. And I just also want to remind people who are on Facebook Live that next week we will be changing the time, just for next week only. We will be going live at 12:30 instead of 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we've all got to get on to our busy lives. And I just want to say bye and thanks so much
Thank
to
you.
Josh and to Lisa.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.